Transform all your company's milestones, big or small, into impact with Impact Hero. Whether it's a sale, a new hire, a demo booked, or anything else, with Impact Hero, you automatically generate a gift that matters, like a tree planted, a kilo of plastic recovered, or a piece of coral reef restored. Join the hundreds of companies that are already boosting sales and retention while making an impact. Go to impacthero.com/podcast now to get 10% off. Again, that's impacthero.com/podcast to get 10% off.
Welcome to another ClimateTech podcast, interviews with the people trying to save us from ourselves. Alex Ivanenko bought a home in California after selling his last company and was floored by the 40 cent per kilowatt hour price of electricity. So he quickly set out to build HyWatts, a company that makes, as he puts it, power plants in a box using renewables to produce energy, hydrogen to store it, and zero transportation costs to use it on site. I reached Alex in Menlo Park, California. I'm Ryan Grant Little. Thanks for being here. Alex, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Ryan. Hello, everybody. So thank you that you're having me today.
You're the founder of HyWatts, which is based in beautiful Berkeley, California. Your production facility is further south in San Diego. Can you talk a little bit about what HyWatts does and specifically what problem it solves?
HyWatts, our mission is to create a reliable, renewable, and low-cost energy anywhere with our power plant in a box. And the problem we are solving is that we see right now rapid increase in energy demand, which caused by energy-hungry industries such as electric vehicles, data center, warehouses, and etc. And based on different reports, by 2030, by the way, the demand of energy will be as much as 50 million homes in the United States, which is right now is equal 1/3 of all homes in the United States at the moment. So it means that we have to create additional generation and transmission lines to satisfy that requirement, that demand. And it will cost our economy only in the United States about $2 trillion. And because you have to create additional generation, build once again transmission lines, and we think it should be a much better way. That is why we started HyWatts. Very easy.
So as we electrify everything, the need for electricity, not surprisingly, goes up substantially. And so we're looking for all kinds of different ways, including kind of distributed energy, which is kind of what you're providing solutions like that. You talk about HyWatts as being, I think, a power plant in a box for off-grid and EV charging. And as someone who spends more and more time off-grid in very difficult places and relying on expensive energy solutions or energy storage solutions, like I'm lugging around these big EcoFlows and stuff like that, I wonder, who is this for? Is this for someone like me? Or is this really kind of if you're talking about a power plant, that's not necessarily something for a consumer?
Ryan, if you have a couple $millions in your pocket and you're ready to build EV charging stations, of course, we will be ideal solution. But if you wanted to go like for camping, our solution it will not work for you 100% because we are like a megawatts level generation and our like average like a storage capacity, so 150 megawatt hours.
Wow.
So, this is a really big boy, I would say.
Okay, so that's more than I need for my coffee machine and my laptop.
Oh, yes. Yeah, 100%.
And so how does it work? So what's special about this? I know, I've been looking into hydrogen storage solutions on the market. Granted, some of the kind of smaller ones. So interesting to hear that you are like power plant scale. I know that you're using reversible fuel cell technology, which cuts down, I think, on the amount of equipment that you need. So you can use half as much equipment as with the kind of the traditional approach. Can you talk a bit about how it works specifically and what kind of the secret sauce is about the technology?
Great question. So let me start from explanation how the system works. What does it mean, power plant in the box, right? So power plant in the box, as I said earlier, is to produce a reliable, renewable, and low-cost energy anywhere. And it works by combining solar generation and our proprietary hydrogen-based energy storage technology based on reversible fuel cell, as you mentioned. So let me briefly explain how it works based on EV charging station example. So during the day, solar panels generate power and directly supplied to the charging stations. Unused excess power is converted into hydrogen on-site, stored in tanks, and used as an energy storage medium because hydrogen can store a lot of energy for a long time. And when solar power is not available, such as during the night or rainy days, the hydrogen is converted back to electricity to supply the chargers for multiple days, unlike battery-based system. As a result, we can deliver reliable, renewable, and low-cost energy. And if we're talking about specifically about our hydrogen-based storage, so of course the core technology is a reversible fuel cell. And what is the secret sauce, right? So if you want to right now use hydrogen as an energy storage medium, you need to use two components: electrolyzer and fuel cell. Electrolyzer to convert electricity to hydrogen, and fuel cell to convert hydrogen back to electricity later on. So, and it means in general you have to pay twice for that because it's almost the similar devices, and that is why it's very expensive. The capex of this system will be very expensive. And this is, by the way, one of the reasons why you don't see a lot of implementation and deployment of hydrogen technology on these specific market segments. So we found a way how to make reversible fuel cell, is where you can do both electrochemical process in one single unit. So let's imagine that I know that it's an audio podcast, but let's imagine this is like a cell. So from one side, it works like an electrolyzer, and from another side, the same cell works in fuel cell mode. As a result, so by default, our system will be 2 times cheaper compared to traditional system configuration. And what is our secret sauce is that we found a way how to make reversible fuel cell in much more reliable and efficient way compared to other reversible fuel cell reactions. Because we, of course, not inventor of reversible fuel cell, 100% not. But we found a way how to make it in much more efficient way and, as I said earlier, much more reliable. And that's actually our crucial and novel discovery in conductive polymer, which is unlock that reversible fuel cell reaction in our system.
And are you protecting that? Is that a trade secret? Do you have patents? How do you protect the IP around this?
I would say that's a combination. So because, investors, they required us to have like a formal patents application, but of course, bunch of technologies and in trade secrets. So because for instance, formula of polymers or formula, the specific construction of the membrane electrode assembly on the fuel cell, what is a selection material, like a sealant materials. Of course, it's on trade secret level. So, but because it's a market requirement, so we have to have some IPs formally issued and applied. That is why we have a few patents application, of course.
Yeah, investors love patents, even if they don't understand always why they do. And sometimes trade secrets are much better.
No, our investors who invested in the company, I would like to emphasize, they understand everything. They're really great guys.
Okay.
I love them.
Well, you can mention them by name if you want.
Yeah, sure. For instance, Alonic, it's a venture fund. It's Mark Shmulevich. So it's a build equity. So few private equity funds. So and Ronald, who is also supported and started to believe in the company from the beginning, which is as a great team. I actually invited in our company from the beginning in terms of investments.
Okay, they'll probably get a few more LinkedIn follows after this episode.
No problem.
So let's get back to, so if I understand correctly, the core of what you're doing is the storage, but you're doing the production as well using renewables like wind and solar, and those are probably more off the shelf, right? So you're not trying to necessarily innovate in that space, you're innovating in the storage. And so you have probably two major types of cost savings. So one is that the fuel costs are nil because you're using renewables, but also the energy transportation costs are nil because you don't have to move this from anywhere because you're producing exactly at the same site where you're storing and eventually using this as well. So that just basically leaves the capital expenditure of buying the HyWatts system. That's then the major kind of economic event here. Can you talk about the economics? You mentioned that this is kind of in the millions level and the megawatt level. So what does this look like? What do the economics look like of working with using a HyWatts system versus, and let's just say for California, using energy the traditional way and paying for energy in the traditional way? How does it stack up?
So Ryan, before, I have an answer on the question. This is like a personal story, right? So I, the second time founder, my first company, High Point, so was acquired by Zero Avia. I received some cash, and actually that helped me to buy the first property in the United States, in California. And I was happy about a month. So until I received my first electric bill, which is I have to pay. And I was shocked because I have to pay about 40 cents per kilowatt hour. I said, wait. I heard a lot that California has a lot of renewable energy in the grid. Why I have to pay so much? I started to analyze my bill breakdown. You know what? And I figured out that more than 60% of that bill is for transmission and distribution lines. That is the reason why I started HyWatts, because I thought, so of course, renewable energy is a great technology if you need to produce locally the power, right? So that is why you must eliminate the transmission components from the bill, right? So, and back to your question about California and pricing and etc. Of course, our technology is much cheaper compared to even utility companies, because we can deliver produce power, store that power in the place and exactly where it is needed for our customers. And just for your example, one of our customers we're working on, on the project for electric vehicle charging hub for heavy duty trucks and cars in Mojave Desert, as the California City Industrial Park customer. So they have two limitations. The first limitation, the Edison, which is a local utility companies, can deliver them necessary power level. The second, the pricing is much higher than HyWatts can offer. So this initially started to think about big batteries, integration, blah, blah, blah. And they figured out the cost of electricity will be even about 18 cents per kilowatt hour. Everything is included, right? So including solar panels and etc. And when we calculated our system based on their requirements, the same modes of operation and etc., we can deliver price per kilowatt hour is about 11 cents. Which is very attractive for their business model. So for your comparison, Edison depends on period of time of where you consume the energy. Business rates will be starting from 10 cents to 32 cents per kilowatt hour. So, but we can provide a stable electricity in the fixed price for next 25 years. So that is why we're going to sign a power purchase agreement and fix the price per electricity for our customers. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, that's great. The transmission and distribution is not just expensive in the US, but it's problematic in some other ways. My understanding is that over kind of decades, it's not been maintained properly. And there's been kind of disincentives for utilities to invest in upgrading
the problem, Ryan, you go deeper in the problem, because everybody, what you see right now on the market, that's they trying to use standard philosophy what they used before in power generation. So, for instance, when you use a power plants based on coal or based on standard natural gas, it's built far from population, big station, like a gigawatt hour, and they build transmission lines. And they're actually trying to do the same stuff with renewable energy. They're building in the middle of nowhere huge facilities, and then after they're trying to build new distribution lines because they still wanted to locate them far from the center of population, right? And this is, I think in general, this is my opinion, I would like to emphasize, this is a general mistake. So because once again, with the feature of renewable energy like a solar or wind, you can deploy it in the exactly place where it is needed. So that is why a previous philosophy will not work here. And that's the problem, because it's not existing transmission lines, I would like to emphasize. They're building a new one and the point of connection, etc. That is why, so it's like a sort of paradox. Cheaper energy we want to have in the grid, renewable, which is the cheapest energy in the world, one of the solution. But at the same time, we have to pay more because of transmission and distribution lines.
I work with a lot of companies who plan to open up shop in or expand across Europe. My one big piece of advice: don't fall into the trap of setting up a new entity right away. Instead, talk to my friends at Paracar, who can help you get up and running without all the costs, not to mention the legal and HR hassle. When I was hiring in different EU countries, I wanted my team to focus on their work, not on the country's bureaucracy. After interviewing a half-dozen international expansion firms, I chose Paracar because they were by far the most knowledgeable and they're great people. Whether you're a large multinational looking to expand abroad, a small business looking for the right talent, or a contractor, they'll sort it out. Book a free, no-obligation consultation right now at paracar.eu/climate. That's PARAKAR.eu/climate. And the transmission and distribution lines are, so I mean, it's expensive. As you said, it's, could be 60% of the bill.
Yeah, it's very expensive. So I don't remember exact figures, but we're talking about a few $1 million per mile of installation.
And it's also at risk, right? Because a lot of it's above ground. As climate change gets worse with extreme heat, with more tornadoes and extreme weather events, it's coming down, right? So the wires are being knocked down on a more regular basis than before. A lot of the existing stuff has not been well maintained. Some of it's been around for 100 years and hasn't, had updated metal contacts and that type of thing. So we see a lot of blackouts. We see a lot of electrical fires because of this. So there are other reasons beyond just cost, I think, to talk about, distributed energy that I think is becoming more and more clear to people who work in energy in general.
Correct. Fully agree.
One of the things also that I was, thinking about is, so, I worked in renewable energy in 2006 to 2010. I was in biogas, which is kind of more or less baseload, but most of the stuff is intermittent, like wind and solar. Most of the renewables that we talk about, that we look at, that are coming online, that have, especially in the past kind of 18 years, have been more intermittent, and storage has been kind of the main issue in kind of load balancing. And so, of course, what you're doing is great for storing for intermittent, but I also was thinking it probably solves an issue of too much. Right. So if you have nuclear plants that are producing, and you can't just kind of turn down the dial on a nuclear plant, it's producing as much as it's producing. But if the demand isn't as high as the supply, you need to do something with that energy as well. And this is presumably also, I don't know if this is a use case for you right now, but are you actually looking at storing energy from baseload that's not needed as well?
Yeah. So actually our technology, we are, I would say, power and dry agnostic, right? So we can work with any energy which is a need to be stored, right? So in our power plant in the box, and specifically in our hydrogen-based energy storage technology, right? In our hydrogen storage. So, and of course we can work with nuclear stations, so with solar, with wind farms, but right now the market, what we are targeting to EV charging station market. So, and of course, for them, deploying nuclear stations for just like, let's say, 20 megawatts, it doesn't make sense at all, right?
No, but I'm thinking of legacy nuclear plants that might be online now. What do they do when they're overproducing right now? Are they basically doing the equivalent of like flaring the energy? What?
I think so. Okay, I understand the question. Sorry. Nuclear station is the first priority power source. So because you're absolutely right, it's hard to be managed, the type of station. So that is why when the operator manages the grid, so he provided priority to nuclear station first. So that is why they usually operate in very, very efficient, the most efficient way. So they provide exactly the power they can generate in much more efficient way. So that is why, so usually there is no such a big problem as far as I understood. Right. So because once again, a grid operator, so they dispatcher, so they provide priority to nuclear first, because actually this is the most cheapest energy, right? So it's cost nothing, I would say. And then after it started to some other power plants and et cetera, depends on the peak, they turn on renewable energy, right? So as the end, because you're absolutely right, it's a high intermittent, but at the same time, all renewable energy requires to have, because of high intermittency, they require to have a sort of storage, right? So to store that energy, to be always online.
So you talk a lot about EV stations, and I think that makes a lot of sense as a key use case. And I think it feels, especially in the US, that one of the major focuses on electrifying transportation. I wonder if you are looking beyond kind of the Tesla level EV and also looking at kind of commercial transportation like trucking, shipping, these kinds of things. Are there opportunities there as well?
Yes, of course. So once again, we are provide the solution for our customers, right? So we actually provided a wire. So in the place exactly where you need that wire to have, right? So that is why we don't care what's type of consumptions, what is the consumer will require them consume that power, right? So it might be heavy duty trucks, it might be ship, but I don't think that is for ships exactly. So for big tankers, so it will be fully electrified. So mainly it will work on ammonia. So again, they need to use hydrogen in this case anyway to produce ammonia. But in general, yes. So we are we're just a solution provider. So we don't think about how exactly, because based on customer requirements, we provide a configuration of the system, the configuration of the power plant.
Sure, but you're targeting specific types of customers, presumably. I read today in The Guardian that in Ireland, the total power consumption for server farms has surpassed all of the residential consumption combined. Is there an opportunity for applications like that? I recognize this can work anywhere, but presumably you're targeting specific verticals first as the kind of the highest impact or opportunity ones first. And EV sounds like number one, but what are 2 and 3?
Yeah, because we're a startup company. Don't forget about that, right? So, and we have to focus on something very specific where we can commercialize our technology as soon as possible. And we analyzed different market segments and community microgrids and data centers and utility scale storage. And we figure out that the most like a fast path to commercialization is the EV charging station, because a lot of subsidies and incentives available on the market. Not, by the way, only in the United States, in Europe and in the United Kingdom too. So that is why we started with this market, because we understand that we can develop our technology, prove it, and then after move to next level, like data centers, community microgrids. And in our portfolio, by the way, we have already a few LOIs with developers of communities, because for them it's also very attractive to have like independent power source, right? So for them, idea is about that, developer can become like a sort of utility company. You can build your like people who live in your community. That's great idea for them, because it will be like a recurring revenue for them, right? So and once again, it's the cheapest cost of, and we also will deliver low cost energy in the community. Because why they want to have our technology? Not because of only price, but don't forget the land without infrastructure. So without building infrastructure, it costs nothing, even in the United States, right? So I comparatively nothing, right? So, but that is why for them, using technology like a HyWatts is very attractive. And of course, our timeline, so we expect to deliver the first system for data centers and community microgrids starting from 2027, and eventually utility scale storage from 2030, because they have a lot of requirements, utility companies, so certified product and et cetera, et cetera. So we think that our timeline, like 5-6 years to develop the system specifically for utilities. So it's okay for us. But right now, EV charging station market, subsidies, a lot of programs, grants, not only for us, but also for our customer available. That is why we decided to start from this market first.
That makes sense. So that's the target. Everything else is opportunistic. So if someone comes to you and says they want to purchase one, you're happy to sell it to them. But EV charging is the holy grail right now. You mentioned regulation and subsidy. And I wonder if you could just talk a little bit about that, maybe in the American context. So is storage and hydrogen, did these topics make it into the Inflation Reduction Act? And has this been a big boost? It sounds like it for your company.
Yes, exactly. So, and actually, our technology, so it's in our product. So we have actually two byproducts, I would say, electrons itself, right? And molecular of hydrogen. So that is why we can combine different progress in the one program, I would say, in the one contract, right? So, and of course, that's great that United States, and by the way, not only here, but in Europe too, that's a lot of programs which is support penetration. But my general idea, and this is my vision and intention how to make a business, we have to make like a real case without any subsidies for our customers, right? So because all figures, all prices I announced earlier, it's not including subsidies, by the way. So because subsidies, they may expire in 2 years. I don't know, it may expire in 1 year. So what we will do, right? So anyway, you have to have a case, in a business case. And your technology should be attractive for customers, even without the story and without subsidies and different support from government. And actually, in California specifically, you may, by the way, receive up to 90% of compensation for CAPEX in using our system. That is why right now, I would say for our customers, our technology is also attractive, because they can get like a real compensation, real cash of their expenses they're going to spend on building and integrate our technology in their solution.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And who knows what happens after November 7th if Donnie and JD come into power. That could be a very dangerous.
Correct. And I'm confident that will be even better for HyWatts. You know what? Because a lot of companies right now like building their business model based on only subsidies. HyWatts is not integrating that. We are showing everybody, say, hey, we don't, even without subsidies, we are on the safe side, right? So you will get that without subsidies. So that is why for me, it will be boost our business. I actually think so. So because everybody will become, no, not everybody, some of companies will become bankruptcy after that, right? So because without support, how you going to be, because their business model initially was based on that support programs. HyWatts not. We're not doing the same stuff.
I take your point. We'll see if it boosts anything, but I take your point about that. You mentioned that this is the second hydrogen company that you founded, and the first was HighPoint, which you sold to Zero Avia, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, just 2 years ago for about $100 million. So congratulations, and that hopefully gives you some runway, and congratulations on being a homeowner in the US for the first time in California. Can you talk a little bit about what that company did and kind of how it might have been different or similar to this one?
Yeah, so it's, I would say, completely different, of course. So at that time, HighPoint, so we are designed the hydrogen and develop hydrogen fuel cells for aircrafts. So when we solve the fundamental aviation problem is the weight of the system. So of course we use like a baseline technology, like a high temperature membrane technology, was this, HyWatts and in HighPoint are the same because we're teaming with the same suppliers like a BSF, Blue World, and etc. But in general, so HyWatts right now, we're not targeting to the weight of the system because we are solving here other fundamental problem for customers is the cost. So that is why we don't care about the weight of the system because it's a terrestrial application anyway. It's land-based, right? So, but we're using off-the-shelf components, which is already validated, certified, and actually has much lower cost if you wanted to just design a new compressor for aviation. So it's I would say, same gas, hydrogen, but completely different technologies and completely different philosophy behind that.
Interesting. I like how you kind of focus on one North Star. So with HighPoint, it was weight, and with HyWatts, it's cost. And then you kind of optimize around that creates some real clarity kind of in the business strategy. I like that a lot.
Thank you, Ryan.
So you mentioned that you've got some VCs involved. So if you're 2 years old, that means you've done either a pre-seed or potentially already a seed round. I wonder what your plans are now. Are you looking at kind of a Series A, or are you doing another fundraise? Is there another fundraise in the books?
Yeah, just a small corrections. The company HyWatts exists only 11 months. By the way, today is exactly 11 months when we incorporated.
Okay, you took a year off to build your home.
I worked for Zero Avia. I was like a general manager in the company. So, and I found that's a bit, it's complicated to work after startups.
Hard to go from founder to manager.
Exactly. So this is not my path. So that is why I actually left about 70% of my earn out on the table just to start HyWatts. So we exist only 11 months, and you're absolutely right. So we actively working with investors. I invested my personal money into in the company from the beginning. Our co-founders actually invested money. So, and we, of course, I went to my previous investors because it was a successful deal for them. And they also put some money in the beginning. But that's, we call like a friends and family rounds, right? So, and right now we're closing our pre-seed stage round. So I think that in a couple of weeks, we will expect to have announcement that we closed our full pre-seed round. So, so we're actively working with different investors who's an expert, as I mentioned earlier. So they understand the technology and the potential of the technology for the future. So that is why they invested.
Okay, so investors listening right now are going to have to probably wait until the next round to join in.
No, they can reach out at any time. So,
Okay.
By the way, this is a funny story. So, because at HighPoint, it was like a lot of money, market was completely different. And a lot of people wanted to invest in HighPoint. And at that time, I was so stupid. And I said, no, time to time, people, investors in HyWatts. So I don't want to do that same mistake. So everybody who wanted to put any dollar in my company, of course, I will get it.
Okay, yeah, market conditions are different.
Exactly. Towards of that, it might be different, depends on the situation. But of course, everybody are welcome.
Okay, Alex is open for business. And what's the best way for people to get in touch with you if they want to participate in your mission in that way or in any other way?
So I would recommend first of all to subscribe on our corporate LinkedIn page, HyWatts. So it's easily may find in LinkedIn. So I have an open profile in LinkedIn too. So which is I prefer to communicate with people who initially request some have questions and etc. And I'm very responsive, right? So I'm happy to develop my network. So I would recommend go through LinkedIn.
Yeah, okay. And I'll put all of that, as always, in show notes. I think with my episodes, it's been 54 LinkedIns and 1 Instagram.
Oh, no, Instagram. So I don't remember. Do I have? I think I deleted that app from my phone.
That seems to be more B2C.
Yeah.
Alex, it's been great talking to you. It's just past midnight in Menlo Park where you are right now. So I really appreciate you staying up late for this conversation, and much appreciated. Wishing you great success with HyWatts.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for listening to another ClimateTech podcast. It would mean a lot if you would subscribe, rate, and share this podcast. Get in touch anytime with tips and guest recommendations at hello@climatetechpod.com. Find me, Ryan Grant Little, on LinkedIn. I'll be back with another episode next week. Bye for now. This episode is supported by Grizzle, B2B content to create and capture demand. I first met Grizzle's founder, Tom Watley, 5 years ago at a conference in Dublin. I was so impressed that I signed a deal with him to do all my software company's content that same evening at the pub. Remember that, Tom?
Kinda.
And they're still doing it 2 years after we sold the company because the new owners love Grizzle as much as I do. If you sell B2B, book 30 minutes in Tom's calendar at grizzle.io/climate. That's GRIZZLE.io/climate.